Despite being known as the personality type that can see most situations from multiple angles and attitudes, contradictingly, the INFJ can only deeply resonate with specific beliefs at the end of the day. While this contributes to their ability to be their most authentic selves, it can also make them seem rather stubborn at times. But that's not the only reason they can be perceived as stuck in their ways. Welcome or welcome back, Psychos. Before we get into it, we'd love it if you liked and subscribed to our channel, as well as to click the post notification bell so you never miss a video. Alright, let's get right into it, starting with Number 1. Each of their beliefs are rooted in intense passion. One thing that sets the INFJ apart from most other personality types is the amount of time and dedication they invest in finding the utmost truthful truths in every sector of their lives. Whether it be regarding broad topics such as human behavior, philosophical viewpoints, religion, and the purpose of life, or more intimate topics such as who their loved ones are at their core. The reasoning behind certain connections they have and why they themselves are the way they are. Every conclusion is developed through serious observation and rumination. Like we already mentioned, regardless of their rather open-minded and understanding attitude of others' opinions, when it comes to overriding their own beliefs with someone else's, most INFJs have a subconscious doubt that individuals took as much time as they did to settle on that understanding. Plus, for this personality type, it's not only passion that acts as a foundation to their beliefs, but also their incredible balance of intuition and logic that integrates seamlessly with their underlying curiosities. Number 2. They secretly hate being wrong. Speaking of the incomparable determination INFJs have when it comes to finding the ultimate truths to any situation, there tends to be more than just their curiosity that fuels their motivation. One of the main reasons behind their need to find all factual and non-factual evidence to support their beliefs and opinions is simply due to the fact that they don't ever want to be wrong. Aside from the egotistic human habit of wanting to be right, the INFJ's need for precision and accuracy comes from a much deeper place. Not only does this advice-giving counselor type want to give the most sound suggestions and philosophical comparisons as possible for others to benefit from, but they also can't quite settle on information that doesn't sit right with them. The INFJ can't stand the thought of mentally storing and preaching information that is rooted in falsity. And so, while they may be perceived as stubborn for not accepting outer information at times, it's because they wouldn't be opening their mouths if they weren't sure of the data and guidance they were discussing. Number 3. They point out faults and errors subconsciously. Not only do INFJs despise being wrong, but they also can have a difficult time accepting criticisms. Ironically, due to their automatic analyzations of their surroundings, including the beliefs, ideas, and explanations of others, the INFJ can actually end up being the critic of the conversation more times than not. And while this quality gives others the most honest opinions of the INFJ, instilling trust and authenticity, it can certainly make them seem stubborn at times. In fact, according to HarvardBusinessReview.org, one of the key qualities of an overly stubborn person is, when others present an idea, the stubborn individual tends to point out all the reasons it won't work. Of course, for the most part, this quality is referring to people who don't give them the time of day for other people's viewpoints, writing them off before they get a chance to explain themselves. For the INFJ, their need to point out the flaws in others' judgments is simply a part of their analysis process. Plus, if they feel comfortable enough to tell someone where they went wrong, it is usually rooted in genuine care, showing they feel safe enough to share their inner thoughts. Number 4. They can't help but to march to the beat of their own drum. When looking at all the telltale signs of a stubborn person, there's always one recurring quality that comes up, and that's simply doing things regardless if anyone else wants to do them. On the opposite side of things, this quality can also be described as not doing the things that everyone else insists on doing. No matter which side of the spectrum the situation categorizes itself to, The INFJ can relate from both ends. Sure, the young and naive INFJ may fall into peer pressure by others and even avoid doing certain things due to the fact that nobody else is doing them. However, when an INFJ matures, there's no wavering from what they want and don't want to do. Even when it comes to being pulled out of their comfort zones, the INFJ will first ask themselves if this new experience will either A, give them a piece of life experience they can't find elsewhere, or B, provide a life lesson they won't learn elsewhere. If the answer is no, the INFJ will happily and firmly decline, disregarding their usual people-pleasing tendencies. Number 5. Stubbornness equals resiliency. There's a fine line between stubbornness, resilience, and self-discipline that the INFJ knows all too well. Considered one of the personality types who tends to be overly self-critical, INFJs set the bar high for themselves and can't help but to bullhead their way towards their goals. In fact, telling this personality type that something is impossible, dangerous, or out of their scope of abilities only acts as fuel, ultimately propelling them closer to the unthinkable. For example, if an INFJ had the desire to travel to a stereotypically risky country and everyone around them was advising them not to, this type will use themselves as an example of just how beautiful and enjoyable that country is. Or if the INFJ decided to follow a rather restrictive diet due to the benefits it entails, they won't change their mind because someone tries to convince them of the nutrients they'll be missing. They refuse to accept others' fear-mongering and lack of research towards the endeavors they choose. Similar to doing the things that nobody else wants to do, this self-disciplined resiliency and need for more can certainly make them seem overly stubborn at times. Number 6. Nobody else can see inside their imaginative world. Speaking of their self-disciplined nature being mistaken for stubbornness, there's one main reason why INFJs can't avoid following their dreams with such determination. Despite the people around them rarely understanding the reasonings behind their fiery desires, it's their imaginative inner world to which all their deepest stubbornness is rooted. For the simple fact that others can't see inside the world they build through their introverted intuition, the INFJ knows that following a less than mediocre life can come with its challenges. They know that the people they're closest with will have a hard time understanding them and their needs to stubbornly go against their suggestions, even if their goals don't work out in the end. The INFJ is on a very different learning path than most people. Because of their truth-seeking nature, and because of this, they know they need to stay adamant despite attempts at persuasion. And for our last point of today's video, number 7. They have trouble with trusting others' intentions. Throughout the life of an INFJ, and any other personality type for that matter, there tends to be those who try to coax them and convince them into decisions out of love. Yet, on the other hand, there are also those who come with ulterior motives, persuading out of hatred and self-benefit. For the INFJ who knows to watch out for ill intentions of others due to their empathetic and kind-hearted nature, sometimes they can remain stubborn out of suspicion. Sometimes others' recommendations, advice, and assurance can be tempting for the INFJ to consider until they dig deeper and see that it could be a much different story to what's being painted in their heads. For example, if an INFJ was considering leaving a job position and their coworker was encouraging them with all the things they want to hear, an INFJ may look past it and question what's in it for that coworker if they leave. Maybe they themselves want the INFJ's position and couldn't care less as to where the INFJ ends up. Of course, these suspicions can have a toxic connotation on the INFJ's part, but nonetheless, they can fuel the INFJ to stubbornly make certain decisions that they wouldn't have normally made. Well, psychos, that's it for today. Before you go, let us know in the comments below if you would consider yourself a stubborn person as an INFJ. Also, make sure to leave us a like, share with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel so that you never miss a video.